You ruined me, and now you want to save me? That was the first thing I said when I saw him again standing there like a god carved from shadows, while I clutched my belly like it was the last piece of me that still belonged to me. 3 months ago, I didn't even believe in wolves. Hell, the wildest thing I'd ever seen was a coyote rummaging through a trash can outside my crappy apartment in Portland. But then came him Elijah. The name alone feels like a scar burning on my skin. Alpha of the Bloodfang pack. A manner rather, a beast who could silence a room just by walking into it. And I was stupid enough to fall for him. I wish I could tell you it was some epic, romantic start. It wasn't. It was a night fueled by anger and whiskey, and maybe a touch of something else neither of us wanted to admit. He told me he couldn't love, that his world was built on dominance and blood. I believed him until the morning I woke up alone, his scent still clinging to my sheets like a cruel reminder. Now, here I am, in a freezing cabin hidden so deep in the Oregon woods that even the GPS gives up. My belly is growing bigger every day, proof of the secret we created, and I'm terrified. Not just of him finding me but of his enemies. Packs tear each other apart for power, and if they know an heir is coming, my baby becomes a target. The first time the nausea hit, I thought it was just stress. Then came the cravings, the fatigue, and finally, the truth slamming into me like a semi-truck. I was pregnant, with his child, a human man carrying the heir of a ruthless alpha. You'd think I'd laugh if it weren't so damn tragic. Every creak of the wooden floor makes my heart jump. Every howl in the distance feels like a warning. I keep telling myself I ran far enough, that he'll never find me here. But some nights, under the pale glow of the moon, I swear I feel him, watching, waiting, because Elijah isn't the kind of man who lets go. And then, tonight, the door creaked open. I froze, clutching the knife I keep under the pillow. My breath was shallow, my pulse a thunderstorm in my ears. The scent hit me first pine, musk, and something wild that made my skin prickle. Then his voice, low and rough, like gravel dragged across steel. You really thought you could hide from me? He stood there, framed by moonlight, his silver eyes burning into mine like they could tear me apart and stitch me back together in the same breath. His hair was wet from the rain, his leather jacket clinging to his broad shoulders. He looked feral, dangerous, and yet heartbreakingly beautiful. I hated that my body remembered him before my mind could protest. My heart ached, my legs trembled, and for a split second, I wanted nothing more than to collapse into his arms and forget everything. But then I remembered why I ran. You don't get to touch me, I spat, clutching the edge of the blanket tighter around my belly. Not after what you did. His gaze flickered downward, and when he saw the swell under my hoodie, his jaw clenched. For the first time, the great alpha looked shaken. That's mine, he growled, voice thick with something I couldn't name. No, I whispered, tears burning the corners of my eyes. This baby is mine, and you're never going to hurt us. The silence stretched like a wire ready to snap. Then, slowly, he stepped closer, and for a terrifying second, I thought he'd tear the cabin apart. But instead, his hand hovered near mine, not touching, just close enough for me to feel the heat radiating off his skin. I would burn this forest to the ground before I let anyone harm you, he said softly, and it scared me more than his rage ever could, because Elijah didn't make promises. Not unless he meant them, and that's when I realized. Hiding was no longer an option. The silence between us felt heavier than the storm raging outside. Rain hammered the roof like a warning drumbeat, and every instinct in me screamed to run, but where? He was the alpha, the hunter. There was nowhere left to hide. Elijah! I started, my voice breaking, but I didn't know what to say. Beg him to leave? Beg him to stay? Neither sounded right. He didn't move. His silver eyes locked on me, on the life growing inside me, and for a second, the ruthless leader everyone feared was just a man lost, conflicted, maybe even broken. I never wanted this for you, he said finally, his voice raw. Not this fear, not this pain. If I could rip the danger out of this world with my bare hands, I would. A bitter laugh escaped me before I could stop it. You are the danger, Elijah. The words hit like a blade, but he didn't flinch. He just stepped closer, slow, deliberate, until the heat of his body brushed against mine. My back pressed into the rough wooden wall, and my heart pounded so loud I wondered if he could hear it. Then let me be the danger that protects you, he whispered, his breath warm against my skin. I hated him for saying things like that, hated how they wrapped around me like chains I didn't want to escape. My hands trembled, and when he reached out, his fingers ghosted over mine with a gentleness that undid me completely. Elijah, if they find out, they already know, he said, cutting me off. His jaw was tight, his eyes darker than the storm. The council caught wind of the air. They sent a message. Surrender you and the child, or they'll declare war. My stomach dropped. War? Elijah, that's insane. That's our world, he said bitterly. Blood for power. And you hold the one thing they want most. My future. My weakness. His voice cracked on the last word, and something inside me broke too. For the first time, I saw the weight he carried, the cost of the crown on his head. He wasn't just a monster I'd fallen in love with, a man drowning in his own darkness. Elijah! My hand moved before my brain could stop it, brushing his cheek. His eyes fluttered shut like my touch was the first light he'd felt in years. I can't let anyone hurt our child. I can't let them hurt you. His hand covered mine, strong and warm. Then don't run from me anymore. God, I wanted to believe him, but trusting Elijah meant stepping into a fire I might never escape. Still, when his forehead rested against mine, when his scent wild and intoxicating wrapped around me, the fight bled out of me like water from a cracked glass. Say it, he whispered. Say you're mine. I didn't answer with words. My lips found his instead, desperate, hungry, like we were both trying to rewrite the pain with a single kiss. His arms crushed me to him, careful of my belly but claiming every inch of me like he'd been starving for this. And maybe I had too. When we finally broke apart, breathless, his voice was steel again, but this time, forged in something fierce and unyielding. They'll come at dawn, he said. I have scouts holding the ridge, but they won't last without me. I need you safe. Fear slashed through me. You're going to fight them? I'm going to end this, he said. For you. For him. His hand splayed over my belly, and for the first time, a tear slid down his cheek. The mighty Alpha, breaking for the family he never thought he could have. Elijah, trust me, he said, pressing his lips to my forehead. If I fall knowing you're safe. No! I grabbed his jacket, shaking my head violently. Don't you dare say goodbye to me like that. You come back. You hear me? You come back to us. His smile was sad, but it lit the darkness like dawn. You're fiercer than any wolf I've ever known. And then he was gone, swallowed by the storm. Hours crawled by like years. I sat curled on the bed, one hand on my belly, praying to gods I didn't believe in. Every howl in the distance made me flinch. Every gunshot of thunder felt like the earth breaking apart. Then, just as the first pale streaks of dawn bled into the sky, the door burst open. Elijah! He staggered inside, soaked in rain and blood, but standing, alive. His eyes locked on me, and before I could breathe, I was in his arms, clutching him like he was the last heartbeat on earth. It's over, he rasped, holding me so tight it hurt. No one will touch you. No one will touch our son. I laughed and sobbed all at once, tasting salt and rain and relief. Son! He grined a rare, unguarded grin that made him look almost human. Call it a wolf's instinct. And in that broken-down cabin, with the storm fading and his arms around me, I realized something. Maybe this love was born of chaos and blood. Maybe it was dangerous and wild and nothing like the fairy tales. But it was ours, and that was enough. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.